We have one last element to add to our movie, and that's our audio. So let's go over to the Project tab and open up the Audio folder. And I'm going to left mouse click on the file inside and drag and drop it to the screen. You'll notice at the top of your layer order that an aqua green colored file has been introduced to the timeline. It's flanked on the right top corner and the left top corner by a small black triangle. And that's just to let us know that this has a finite amount of time, and to play with the speed of it, making it go faster or slow, it would distort it. Alright, so now if we go over to the left-hand side of the timeline, you'll notice that there's no eyeball, but now there is a speaker, signifying that this is a straight, pure audio file. Now, like the other images we've been working with, or the other layers, there is a triangle next to the number of the layer. And I'm going to open that up as far as I can. And what we'll see now is audio levels, a waveform, and then the actual physical waveform. And this can be kind of handy when you're starting to edit. But we're simply going to go in here now, and we're going to have our music fade in and then fade out at a particular point in time. Let's start with the fade in part of this. So I'll put the playback head back at the beginning of the timeline. Now I'm going to go over to audio levels, and I'm going to click on that clock. All right, the same clock we've been using throughout our tutorial. When I click on it, it does the same thing. It turns blue and drops a keyframe wherever the playback head happens to be. Now with audio, we would try never to exceed the default 0 decibels. I would never make that higher. But in order for it to fade out, we do have to introduce a lower number to the box. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to put -100. And my audio waveform is going to go flatline. It will disappear momentarily. Now let's move 2 seconds in time to have it fade in. I'm punching at 200. Then at 200, I'm going to return it to the default 0 decibels. And you'll see now that we've got a slight fade in based on this physical graph, that waveform that appears in our timeline. Let's put our playback head at the beginning, and let's tap our space bar and see what the results are. So you can see that we've got this basic fade in. So now we're going to determine where we would like this to fade out. Now, we've been going in 4-second intervals with our files that we introduced. So what that means is we want this last clip, number 6, to be on screen for 4 seconds, and then we want the audio to fade out at that point probably. So let's click on that clip, and then we'll hold the Shift key and drag on our playback head and snap our playback head to the beginning of that clip. Now it's roughly at 19 seconds. So in order to have my 4-second duration, I'm going to click on the time code in the left-hand corner, and I'm going to add 4 seconds to that. Okay, so what I want to do is make this 2300. So punch in 2300, and I'll hit return. Now, I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to have the audio fade out and the last picture fade out at the same time. So let's start with the audio. I'm going to select the audio clip. I will click on the second keyframe. You can see that when I select it, it turns blue. I'm going to copy and paste that to where the playback head is. So if my playback head is in position, all I need to do is select the keyframe and hit Command C and then Command V. Now, again, I want this to fade out with the picture. So let's go down to our picture and let's hit T for transparency. Remember, the quick keys to open up our transform windows usually are represented by the first letter of the function. So if this were closed out again and I wanted position, perhaps I'd hit P. But in this case, we want opacity, which just happens to be T for transparency. Let's drop the first keyframe for the opacity change. Now, we're at 2300 and we want to do 2 things. We want to move 2 seconds to 2500. And then we want to change the audio levels, decibel, from 0 back to -100 to fade it out. And then we'll go down to the picture, number 6, and we're going to make the opacity 0 there. So essentially, we've introduced a fade out for our last picture and our audio file. I'm going to hit Command S to save.